Between Worlds, Part 4, Season 1. It was Monday morning, 6:30 a.m, the fourth day since the portal appeared in our backyard. The light was soft, filtered through clouds, casting a bluish hue across the house. A peaceful silence blanketed everything, the kind of silence that made you pause, that held a strange weight, like the world was holding its breath. I stood by the kitchen window, cradling a warm cup of coffee in both hands, watching the backyard shimmer like a living painting. 4 days. 4 days of impossible things. 4 days of visions, memories, and energy that crackled in the air, as if the veil between worlds had thinned and something ancient was peeking through. I felt different now, not just in my thoughts, but in my body, in my bones. There was a vibration running through me, a hum that hadn't been there before. It was subtle but consistent, like my soul had started to remember something I hadn't yet caught up to. Allison walked in quietly, wrapped in a hoodie, her hair messy from sleep. She didn't say anything at first, just leaned against the kitchen counter and stared at the window too. We didn't need words, not right now. Everything between us felt connected on a level deeper than usual, like the portal had somehow rewired the way we spoke. Not just to each other, but to life itself. "I don't know what day it is anymore," she said eventually, her voice quiet, still heavy with sleep. "It's Monday," I replied, sipping my coffee. "Apparently." She gave me a soft laugh, the kind that said, "This still feels like a dream." I nodded towards the backyard. "Still there?" Allison sighed and shook her head slowly, as if trying to make sense of it all. But we both knew no logic could define what was happening to us. The backyard shimmered with the same iridescent glow, colours weaving through the air like light refracted through the crystal. It wasn't just a visual. It had a feeling, a warmth, a pull. Sometimes I thought I heard whispers from it, like songs carried on a breeze too delicate to fully catch. "I don't want to rush this," I said, more to myself than her. "Whatever this is, I want to take it slow." Allison looked at me, her eyes still carrying that deep knowing. "Yeah, me too. It's big, bigger than we can understand right now, and it's not going anywhere." We stood there sipping our coffees in silence, the portal glowing softly in the background, like a cosmic doorway waiting patiently for us to be ready. But it's time. Today is the day. There's a quiet certainty in the air, a sense of alignment, like all the puzzle pieces have finally clicked into place. Allison walked into the living room, holding her phone, a puzzled smile on her face. "You're not going to believe this," she said. What?" "I completely forgot. It's Easter. I already have the whole week off." She laughed in disbelief. "I thought I'd have to call in and ask for time off. But I don't even have to say a word. It's already handled." I blinked at her, slowly smiling. "You're serious?" "Yep. Automatic time off, like it was all planned without me even knowing." I sat back, letting her words sink in. What timing, what alignment, what divine orchestration. This has been written in the stars. I whispered, more to myself than her. There was no other explanation. The synchronicities were too perfect, too seamless. The portal, the shifts in our bodies and minds, the space being created for us to explore it. Without effort, without resistance, it was as if the universe had cleared a path and was standing back, open arms, saying, "Go ahead, step through." Allison sat beside me, eyes wide but calm, that soft sparkle in them again. It's like we're being invited. Yeah, I nodded, the weight of it settling in my chest, invited and watched over. Neither of us spoke for a long time. We just sat there, the gravity of it sinking in. There was no turning back now. The portal was still glowing in the backyard, waiting patiently, like it knew we'd be ready today. This wasn't random. It wasn't a coincidence. Everything, the timing, the energy, the feelings was syncing up with a rhythm far beyond anything we could have orchestrated ourselves. It was time. We both knew it. Today, we stepped closer. "So, baby," I said, turning to Allison, heart-pounding, voice steady, "I've got a game plan." She raised an eyebrow. Oh, yeah? Yeah. I've been thinking about it all morning. I want to go into the portal and go and check it out. Just enough to see what's on the other side. But I'm not just going to disappear from you. I found that thick climbing rope in the garage. You're going to tie it around me and anchor it to the post near the old garden bed. That way, if anything happens, you can pull me back. Allison blinked, absorbing every word. Her face was unreadable at first, then softened with concern and trust. "Are you sure about this?" she asked quietly, stepping closer. I nodded, trying to keep my nerves from showing. "I need to know what's through there. I feel it calling me, and I don't think it's dangerous. But it is. I'm not risking both of us." She sighed, long and slow. "Okay," she said at last. "We can try that." It was one of those moments where love wasn't about holding someone back. It was about walking them to the edge and letting them go, even when it scared you. We headed out into the backyard together, the morning light spilling across the grass like golden silk. The portal shimmered like beyond the old eucalyptus tree, casting a rainbow glow that rippled through the leaves. It was breathtaking, alive, and yet somehow silent, waiting. I brought the heavy rope out and wrapped it around my waist a few times, tying it snugly. Allison helped me secure it, looping the end around the sturdy post and double knotting it with hands that trembled just a little. "You good?" I asked. She gave me a look that said absolutely not, but nodded anyway. "I've got you. Just don't be long. You pull once if it's good to come in, twice if you need help, and I'm yanking you out if anything feels wrong." "Deal." I smiled and touched her cheek. "You're amazing, you know that?" "Yeah. Well, I'm also terrified." I kissed her once, gently, and then turned towards the portal. With each step I took, the air seemed to change. Thicker, almost electric. The grass beneath my feet felt softer, the wind quieter. The rope tightened slightly behind me, grounding me, reminding me Allison was still there. I stood at the edge, heart racing. The light from the portal danced across my skin in waves, gently pulsing like it was breathing. I took one deep breath, looked back at her one last time, and said, "Here goes everything." As I stepped through, everything changed. It wasn't like crossing a threshold from one room to another. It was like dissolving through layers of reality itself. The air shifted, became thicker, charged and yet impossible light. The light around me bent and swirled, folding into colours I didn't have names for, and then everything hit me at once. Time fractured, or maybe merged. All timelines, all versions of me were suddenly right here, overlapping in a breathtaking collision of now. I wasn't just walking, I was remembering across dimensions. It was like walking through the very soul of the universe, where every memory, every possibility, every life I've ever lived or could ever live, playing out in perfect symphony. Worlds opened around me like blooming flowers. Galaxies spun by like sparks in a wind tunnel of stars. I saw the ancient civilizations rise and fall. Some familiar, some not of this earth. In one timeline, I was a healer, working with sound and light, helping souls transition between realms. In another, I was a warrior made of crystalline armor, fighting for peace on a golden planet surrounded by twin suns. Hundreds, thousands of lifetimes all unfolding at once. It should have been overwhelming, but it wasn't. The more I let go, the more I relaxed into it, the more I became one with all, the clearer it became. There was no fear, only awe. I was everything and nothing at the same time. Each version of me looked different bodies, different forms, sometimes even different species. But the soul, the core, it was the same. Me, external, expanding. And in that moment, I understood something profound. It made my heart ache in the best way. Everything is connected. Every life, every choice, every heartbeat in the cosmos was part of a greater intelligent design, an orchestra of purpose and love. Even the pain, even the loss, all of it was part of a sacred dance of becoming. This space, this shimmering nexus between worlds, wasn't just a portal. It was a memory, a divine intelligence, a mirror of all things. And somehow it welcomed me like an old friend returning home. Tears welled up in my eyes, not from sadness, but from the sheer beauty of it. I felt humbled, held, and completely undone in the best possible way. The deeper I allowed myself to feel it, the more it showed me, not through words, but through knowing, through being. I lost all sense of time, but in that space, time didn't exist. There was only truth. There was only love. As I stepped fully through to the other side of the portal, I knew in an instant I was no longer the same. Something inside me had shifted permanently, like a locked door in my soul had swung open and could never be closed again. I glanced down, half in disbelief, and saw the rope still tied around my waist, trailing softly behind me. I felt almost ridiculous, this simple tether to the old world, still intact in a place like this, and yet it grounded me. It reminded me of Allison, of Earth, of why I was doing this. Then I looked around and my breath caught in my throat. The atmosphere shimmered with a peace so deep, so complete. It felt like it was wrapping around me, soaking me into my skin. The air was warm and soft, like it carried a pulse, almost like it was alive. And the scent, God, the scent, it was intoxicating. A blend of most exquisite botanical fragrances. As if all the most beautiful flowers of 1,000 worlds had opened at once. There was a hint of something both floral and deep, like an ancient sacred cologne, masculine and feminine at once. Familiar and otherworldly, it made my heart ache in the best possible way. I was standing barefoot on the softest, thickest grass I've ever felt, vibrant, electric, green, almost humming beneath my feet. The grass itself seemed conscious, like it welcomed me, loved me, remembered me. It glowed softly, not just green, but threaded with delicate hints of gold, lavender and rose pink, as if it had been kissed by starlight. Everything around me pulsed with light, but not harsh light, healing light, a radiant, living energy that filled the landscape with a quiet joy. It was like being inside a dream, where nothing was rushed, where love was the only law, and the soul could finally breathe. And then I looked up, and nearly dropped to my knees. Above me in a wide, endless sky that glowed with a hue never seen on earth before. 2 golden suns, not blinding, but majestic. They radiated warmth, not heat. One slightly smaller than the other, they moved in sync, casting long, gentle shadows across the landscape. The light they gave wasn't just illumination, it felt like pure consciousness, like being seen and loved by the universe itself. Tears rose instantly in my eyes. I wasn't crying out of sadness or even joy. It was something deeper, a recognition, a memory rising from within my bones. This place felt like home. Or at least one of them. A place my soul had known before. Long before this life. Maybe before any life. A place I had carried in my dreams without even knowing it. And now, standing in the middle of it, I felt whole in the way I never knew I was missing. I stood there for a long moment, letting it soak into me. The sights, the smell, the feeling of being completely remembered by a world that knew me before I was born. But then I thought of Allison, my anchor, my love, my mirror in this life and every other. She had to see this. We were meant to do this together. I turned slowly, the rope still in hand, and began walking back toward the shimmering threshold behind me. The portal stood there silently, a glimmering veil between dimensions awaiting. "I'm coming back, baby," I whispered, voice shaking. "We're meant to share this together." And with that, I stepped back through the veil, ready to bring Allison into the world that had just changed everything. As I stepped back through the portal, the return felt almost instantaneous, like the universe had folded on itself and gently placed me back where I begun. One heartbeat, I was standing beneath twin golden suns. The next, I was back in our backyard, the grass cool beneath my feet, and the morning light just beginning to stretch across the sky. I didn't even have to process the shift, because there she was. Allison. Allison. I walked straight towards her, and before either of us could speak, I wrapped my arms around her and pulled her into me. She dropped the rope, and we collided into a kind of embrace that says everything without needing words. We held each other tightly, like two halves of one soul, finding their way back. Then our lips met, urgent, emotional, and passionate. All of the love, the fear, and the awe, the unknown, wrapped up in that one kiss. When we finally pulled apart, she looked up at me with wide, shining eyes. "I didn't know you were coming back," she whispered, her voice crackling just slightly. "But now that I think about it, it feels like you were only gone a couple of minutes." I nodded. "I know. It felt like hours, lifetimes. But here, it was barely a blink. Time doesn't flow the same anymore. We're not just working with the Earth's rhythm now. We're plugged into something way bigger. Timelines, dimensions, they're all starting to overlap." Her eyes searched mine. "You're different." "I am," I said quietly. "And you will be too." But first I smiled and reached for her hand. "Let's have coffee. I need to tell you everything. And then, when you're ready, we'll go through it together." We went inside, still buzzing from the energy that pulsed just beyond our reality. The kettle boiled and the smell of fresh coffee filled the air. Warm, grounding, familiar. A sacred ritual in the middle of cosmic change. We sat at the kitchen table, mugs in hand. I looked at her, across the rim of my cup, and began to speak. As I shared what I had seen, the layered timelines, the live playing out across countless worlds, energetic grass, the light that knew my name, the suns that felt like divine beings. Her eyes welled with tears, not because she was overwhelmed, but because deep inside she remembered it too. With every word I spoke, I watched the veil lift for her. A soft recognition lit up in her face, like a forgotten language would suddenly become fluent again. She didn't just believe me, she knew. I've dreamt of that place," she said softly. "Not exactly like how you described it, but a feeling. The peace, the colours, the knowing." She paused, blinking back emotion. "It's like home, or one of them." I reached across the table and took her hand. "That's because it is. We've been there before. Maybe even came from there. This whole thing, it's not random, it's remembering." We sat in silence for a while, letting it all settle. The world outside continued on, cars passed, birds chirped. The mundane ticked by, but for us, time had shifted. "What day is it again?" I asked, almost laughing. She shrugged, wiping her cheek. "I don't even know anymore. Is it Sunday, Monday? Does it even matter?" And the truth hit us both at the same time. It doesn't matter anymore. Days, dates, clocks, they were all constructs of a world we were slowly stepping out of. We weren't bound by linear time anymore. We were on the edge of something cosmic. Fluid time, soul time. I looked at her and asked, "Do you still have to go back to work tomorrow?" She bit her lip, hesitating. "Technically, yeah, but no." I cut her off gently. "Unless we leave Earth." She stared at me, stunned in stillness, not out of fear, but because the possibility suddenly felt so real, so available, as if the portal had awakened not just our memories, but our permission to choose differently. "To leave," she whispered, "to actually leave Earth." I nodded slowly. "We don't have to rush, But we should prepare, because that portal isn't just a doorway to another place. It's a doorway to who we truly are. And that moment we both stepped through together, nothing will ever be the same again. I turned to Allison, my heart full. "Baby," I said, my voice trembling slightly with excitement, "are you ready for the adventure of a lifetime?" She smiled at me with that spark in her eyes that always made me feel like the world was ours. "Babe, you know me. I live for adventure." We both laughed. That giddy, nervous kind of laugh that comes just before everything changes. Fingers interlaced, hearts aligned. We stood at the edge of the portal. The energy buzzed around us like a soft current of electricity and stars. Hand in hand, we stepped forward, slowly together. The moment we entered, it happened again. Time unraveled. Every timeline, every possibility, every memory, every future, all converged into a cosmic dance of light and energy. The space was alive, pulsing with wisdom. Allison's face lit up in awe, her mouth slightly open, her eyes wide and filled with wonder. I could feel her heart racing, rhythm with mine. She looked around, taking it all in. The swirling galaxies, the ancient music humming in the air, the sensation of floating and being everywhere at once. She reached out her free hand and ran it through what looked like strands of starlight, her fingers leaving shimmering trails behind. "It's like we've been here before," she whispered, "but I couldn't remember until now." The portal cradled us in timelessness, and although it felt like hours, like lifetimes, we emerged on the other side in a blink of an eye. The same place, that same radiant world of lush, luminous grass with twin golden suns. That sweet, floral, almost celestial scent wrapped around us again, like a hug from the universe itself. Allison blinked, her breath catching in her chest. She looked at me with wide, glistening eyes. "Baby, wow, I didn't know. I didn't understand before, but now," her voice cracked, "now I do." I squeezed her hand gently, looking around. "Feel this place, let it speak to you." She slowly turned in place, taking it all in. The vibrant grass shimmered beneath our feet, colours of gold, violet and blush pink dancing in the blades like reflections of our own emotions. The air itself seemed to hum with life. Tears rolled down her cheeks. "This is the most beautiful thing I've ever seen. I can feel it. It is alive. I'm alive." We stood in the stillness together, just breathing, being. Then I noticed something. Movement in the distance. All around us like blooming flowers, other portals were opening. Other people, just like us, were stepping through, some alone, some in pairs, their eyes wide, hearts open, energy glowing softly around them. "Allison," I said, pointing gently, "look." She turned and her eyes followed the horizon as more and more souls arrived. We looked at each other, 1,000 unspoken questions between us. "What's going on?" she asked softly. Before I could respond, a figure began to approach us from the distance. A tall woman, ethereal, graceful, she moved like a gentle breeze, flowing with elegance and purpose. Her entire being glowed with a faint pearl-like shimmer, as though moonlight lived inside her skin. Her hair drifted behind her like silk in water. Every step she looked seemed to ripple through the ground like soft energy waves. And then she was standing in front of us, eyes wise and luminous, holding the kind of presence that instantly made you feel safe, seen and completely loved. She smiled, and her voice flowed like music, like wind chimes in the morning sun. "Welcome, Allison and Jayson," she said, her voice echoing into our very bones. "We have been waiting for you for a very, very long time." All the air left our lungs at once. We stared at her completely still. There was no words, just the overwhelming sense of recognition, like meeting someone from a dream you've long forgotten, but always loved. My hand tightened around Allison's. I finally whispered, "Who are you?" The woman's smile deepened. "I am part of your soul family. I am one of the many who watched you across lifetimes, guiding when we could, waiting when we must. You both were meant to find your way back together, and now you have." Allison's eyes were wide with emotion. "This place, this feeling, it's like home." The woman nodded. "Because it is one of your many homes. You've returned not just to a place, but to a truth, one that has always lived inside you." We stood there in silence, overwhelmed, humbled, and cracked wide open. The adventure had truly begun. To be continued.